Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and I'm really excited today because today we're doing my top 20 favorite VR games of 2023 across all platforms. So that's going to be everything on the PC, everything on the PlayStation VR2, and everything on the MetaQuest platform. There has been so many good games that have come out over the years here. Things like Star Wars and Half-Life Alyx and Walkabout Mini Golf. So many good games over the years, and it's always great to look back on this year specifically and look back about what my favorite games are across all platforms, because obviously there's some exclusives on certain platforms. There's some games that only come out on one system. So it's always good to put them against each other and see, hey, what do these games actually offer and what do they actually, how good are these games and where do they fall on my list? And I can't wait to show you guys, some of these games and talk about how good VR has actually been in 2023. Some people, are still trying to make it seem like there's not a lot of good VR games coming out. And this list kind of proves that there is something for everybody, no matter what platform you're playing on. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
The first one on the list here, coming in at number 20, is the Light Brigade. This game kind of caught me by surprise because I knew it was a roguelike when it was coming out, but I think a lot of us kind of are tired of seeing roguelikes in VR because I feel like there's just so many of them. So I almost put this game off because I thought it was just going to be the same thing over and over again. But this game is amazing. First of all, the graphic art style obviously makes it stand out. I think it looks really, really good, and it has that unique style. The shooting mechanics all work really well, and even when you beat the game actually opens up even more with more to do when you actually beat the quote-unquote campaign, and then you get to explore even more. So I definitely urge you guys to, go through the campaign and then get to the actual end game of this game, because there's even more to do and more unique stuff to see after that. With all the upgrades that you get, the weapons and everything, things just open up after that. So it's a really unique roguelike game and shooter in VR. It's one of my favorites of the year, obviously. The Light Brigade coming in at number 20. The next one here, coming in at number 19, is the Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord. I've been having a great time with this game this year. Obviously, there's some things that I wish they would add to the game, but they are announcing a lot of content coming to this game. They have already put in 2 free game modes in there. We got some DLC coming in January for the Slimer ghosts that we're all looking forward to from the original movies. They got some stuff coming in March that they're teasing about. So there's some definitely good amount of content coming to this game. Hopefully they take the game into a good direction. But playing with randoms and friends online, I mean, you really do feel like a true Ghostbuster in this game. And I'm having a blast with it, even though it is multiplayer focused. Going in there and tackling ghosts with your proton pack and using all the different things that, Ghostbusters really use does make you feel like a part of that world. So I'm having a blast with it. Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord coming in at number 19. The next one here, coming in at number 18, is Breachers. So Breachers is a really fun, tactical shooter in VR. Kind of think like Rainbow Six and stuff like that. And you actually get to infiltrate the buildings and stuff like that. Gather all these different weapons, and you get to go through windows and climb buildings and stuff like that. Just like you kind of would in a Rainbow Six tactical style game. Plant C4s, blow up the top of buildings, and get into rooms. Really, really fun tactical, shooter that you can either, go against the AI with your friends, or you can also go in there and, play competitively against another team and be the last one standing. Really fun game. Just came out on PlayStation VR2. Has been around on the Quest for a while, and I'm having a blast with this game. Like I said, there's not really anything else in VR like it with the tactical nature of it. That is Breachers, coming in at number 18. The next one here, coming in at number 17, is Demeo Battles. So Demeo, if you guys obviously heard of that game, was the D&D, tabletop RPG board game that you played cooperatively with your friends. Took about 2 to 3 hours sometimes to complete a whole campaign. Well, this game is now PvP. It's set in the same universe now, but obviously now you're playing against your opponents and actually competing against them. And this game is great because you can get 10 or 15 minutes and you'll complete a whole entire game. So there's a lot more opportunity to play a lot of games. You still get the Demeo feel. All the boards, the minions, and all the card play is all still here in tabletop form. Really great game. I love board games, obviously, and this game kind of fits right at home in that genre, and they're doing a great job with the Demeo franchise, and this PvP game is actually, becoming my favorite over actually regular Demeo, and it's a ton of fun, and I can get a lot more games in. So Demeo Battles coming in at number 17. The next one here, coming in at number 16, is Ghost of Tabor. So this is a really unique game in VR as well, because this is an extraction type VR FPS game. Basically, it is a survival game where you're using your skills and resources to basically survive. If you guys have played games like DayZ and Tarkov and stuff like that, it has the the style of gameplay of that, just done in VR. Like I said, it's a really unique game where you're using your skills to survive, and you're trying to be the last one standing. You're competing against the environment, also against other players. It is a really unique game that I think everyone should experience. It's been really popular this year as well since it came out, and people seem to be enjoying this game a lot. So Ghost of Tabor coming in at number 16. The next one on the list, coming in at number 15, is Dungeons of Eternity. This is another one that has been super popular that people really seem to be enjoying, and that is me included as well. This is a dungeon crawler type of game where you're playing with 3 of your other friends, trying to go through procedurally generated dungeons, trying to collect loot and stuff like that. Think kind of like Diablo and stuff like that, like games in that genre, where you're going through and the dungeons are randomly generated, and you're going through trying to kill all the enemies and stuff to basically upgrade your weapons, upgrade your skills that you have, and then basically go in there and kind of do it at higher difficulties and stuff and get better loot. It's that kind of unique system, but there's a lot of good variety here in the dungeons that are being generated, a lot of good variety in the actual enemies. They're supporting the hell out of this game as well. People are having a blast with this game, and so am I. Dungeons of Eternity coming in at number 15. The next one here, coming in at number 14, is SApps. This is a PlayStation VR2 exclusive, made by Dreams, the same folks who made Ghostbusters. I was on this list as well, and man, this game is so much fun. The only complaint you could really have about this game is that you just wanted more of it because it was that good and that much fun to play. But what is here is super fun. Basically, you're using your telekinetic powers, and you really feel like a badass in this game while using these powers. You feel like a superhero, basically, in this VR FPS game. You're taking out your enemies by basically lifting objects and using your powers to kind of throw them against the environment and doing all these crazy things to them and going through this adventure that you're going through. Like, it's nothing like you've played before. The way that you actually fight in this game and throw, enemies at each other and can throw them in the air and kind of feel like you're using the Force almost, like in Star Wars, I guess, is the way that's best described for you guys to picture how the gameplay is. But, man, it is so much fun. Like I said, really unique game, and the fact that it is only on PlayStation VR2, they got a great exclusive out of here, and Dreams is doing a hell of a job and continuing to do a hell of a job with the game that they come out with. So, SApps coming in at number 14. The next game here, coming in at number 13, is Racket Club. Racket Club is a sports game from Resolution Games, another one of my favorite VR developers, that just came out recently, and it is a combination of tennis and racquetball, and I think they're doing a great job with this game. First of all, the social area where you actually have multiple courts with multiple people playing in them, and you can actually see people playing. You can stand next to the court and actually see the live gameplay and see how their hands are moving and how they're hitting the ball. And everyone's doing it, and they're on court. You can talk to them and chat with them in social VR in the clubs. The single player is all here, but the addictive nature is what really sets this game apart. I love the addictive nature of this game. It kind of reminds me of 11 table tennis. I love sports games in VR, and every single day I've been playing this game and going in there and be like, one more match. It's becoming a really addicting game. It's really fun. Definitely urge everyone to try this game out if they have not, because it's got that nature of being an addictive sports game in VR. So Racket Club coming in at number 13. The next one here, coming in at number 12, is the Dark Picture Switchback VR. I was always looking forward to this game when this first game came out because I was a huge fan of their original one on PSVR. And this was a little bit rocky when it came out. Wasn't as what we all wanted because we wanted to get into the action faster. The graphics were a little bit blurry and stuff like that. But they updated the game. They updated with free patches. Now they have a better graphics capability in the game. Things look really sharp and really good. It looks like a PlayStation VR2 game now. So the visuals are awesome. It's a great horror-based game where you're on, obviously, a roller coaster and stuff like that, shooting the enemies that are coming at you. And now they even added a horde mode for free where you actually get to get into the action faster, and the roller coaster really takes a turn and goes even more crazy, doing loops and all this kind of stuff. Really feels like a roller coaster game. In that mode, and you're shooting enemies and stuff like that. It's a great ton of fun now, and I love the game. I love horror games. It definitely has some jump scares, just like the original ones did, and now it looks and plays the part, so now it definitely makes the list. This is Switchback coming in at number 12. The next one here coming in at number 11 is Firewall Ultra. I'm having a blast with this game on the PlayStation VR2. Of course, this is a sequel to the original game that came out. This had a really rocky launch when it came out. This had the ability to definitely be a lot higher on this list because I love the original so much. But, you know, they've been improving the game with incremental updates over the last couple of months. They just added a couple of new maps as well. But this is a great tactical shooter on the PlayStation VR2. Nothing else like it. It's like the Rainbow Six for the PlayStation VR2. But the graphics are amazing. I love like the dark nature of the game, using flashlights, going around corners, playing tactically, and you know, there's nothing else like it in VR. I think the game stands on its own. It's too bad that they had a rocky launch because this could have been easily in my top 5 of the year. You know, but they're still adding improvements, and here's to hoping that actually happens. So Firewall Ultra coming in at number 11. The next one here coming in at number 10 is Propagation Paradise Hotel. This is a horror-based game that kind of did everything right that you could ask out of a horror game. It has the jump scares, it has a creepy atmosphere, it has a great story to follow through, and it is definitely my favorite horror game of the year. I think they did a fantastic job, you know, with this game, setting the atmosphere and setting the mood. I had high hopes when this game was first announced, and I'm super happy that it ended up turning out as good as it actually did. If you guys are into horror games as well, and you're looking for a new horror, you know, story-based game to go in through in VR, and a really good one at that, Propagation Paradise Hotel is not one you should miss, coming in at number 10. The next one here coming in at number 9 is Horizon Call of the Mountain. I remember when this game first came out, and obviously it was a launch title for the PlayStation VR2, and I was super excited about it because I'm a huge fan of Horizon. I played the flat screen games of Horizon, and it was going to be a full-fledged game in VR for Horizon. And even though it didn't turn out as good as we all hoped, it still is a really good game. Even though you do climbing for a lot of the game, I don't have a problem with that. The story kind of takes you through it. The graphics are amazing in VR. Some of the best VR graphics you can see. Like I said, the story's a ton of fun. You do see some familiar faces in Horizon in this game, and you know, the combat is still a ton of fun, even though there's not a lot of it because you're doing a lot of climbing. But you know, seeing the vistas of Horizon and being in that world, you definitely feel like you're a part of this world in this game, and I think they did a good job for what they were trying to set out to do here. Really unique game in VR to be in this world, and it's a great PlayStation VR2 exclusive that I think anybody who's a Horizon fan should definitely play, and it's one of my favorite games of the year. Like I said, Horizon Call of the Mountain coming in at number 9. The next one here coming in at number 8 is Crossfire Sierra Squad. This is a game that kind of caught all of us by surprise, I think, with how good it ended up turning out to be. I mean, this is a VR shooter, obviously, but it has over 50 cooperative missions that are in this game, and I was just surprised on how good it turned out to be. First of all, I didn't think the graphics were going to look as good as what they actually showed it off to be, and it ended up being to look just as good as we saw in the trailer. It looks fantastic on there, and you could actually play cooperatively with your friends as well in these 50 missions, and each of the missions take about 10 or 15 minutes to complete, and they're all so varied. There's a lot of variety in the actual missions that you're doing. Like I said, this game really caught me by surprise on how good it actually is, and more importantly, how much fun it actually is to play. Crossfire Sierra Squad coming in at number 8. The next one here coming in at number 7 is Arizona Sunshine 2. So this is a sequel to the original Arizona Sunshine that was from 7 years ago. That kind of started off with one of my first games I played in VR that kind of really, you know, set me in the wow factor of what VR can do. And this is the sequel to it, and I love that you can play the whole entire story campaign in here with another friend, and you have Buddy here, which is a fantastic dog companion that you're playing through. And this is everything I could have wanted out of the sequel, in my opinion. You know, it has really good graphics. It really stands out as being a really good game. You know, obviously more weapons, more melee weapons, more ways to kill your zombies. It feels good to take the zombies out, especially with those melee weapons. A good story to follow through and stuff like that. It's a really good sequel to the actual game. I know a lot of people have some complaints about how short it is, but I'm still playing through it. You know, some people are saying it's like 5 hours. Other people are saying it's more like 8 and stuff like that. They also do have a horde mode. They do have a lot of variety in the actual locales that you go through in the campaign, which is great to see. Like I said, it's everything I could have wanted out of this game for a sequel. It's more of what the original was, but just more of everything. More zombies, more locales to visit, more weapons, more melee weapons to play with. You know, a really cool story to go through, and just a fun cooperative game to go with your friends. There's not a lot of cooperative story-based games out there in VR that you can play fully with your friends. So Arizona Sunshine 2 coming in at number 7. The next one here coming in at number 6 is Assassin's Creed Nexus VR, another one that really caught me by surprise for a couple of reasons. First of all, when this game was announced, again, by Ubisoft, I didn't think it was going to be that good because, you know, it's an Assassin's Creed game in VR, and it was only going to be on the Quest platform, and we were like, how's this actually going to work? Is it going to look good? Is it going to play good? How are they going to do it? Well, they did it. It's a fantastic Assassin's Creed game in VR. You get to play as 3 different protagonists, and the second reason I was wowed is when I got into this game, I really felt like I was in a PCVR game on the Quest 3. I mean, the amount of NPCs on the screen and actually feeling a part of the Assassin's Creed world, the fact that you have different environments that kind of feel semi-open world with different side activities to do, the fact that the parkour actually feels good in the game, taking out enemies from the top and getting to, you know, use your sword and stuff like that in VR, like the Assassin's Creed gameplay kind of lends itself to. It feels like a full-on Assassin's Creed game in VR, and they did a fantastic job with this one. It's one of my favorite games of the year, obviously, and I love Assassin's Creed, you know, on 2D, and the fact that I have a full VR game of it is just fantastic. Assassin's Creed Nexus VR coming in at number 6. The next one here coming in at number 5 is Resident Evil Village VR mode. Village was obviously the first Resident Evil game that we got on the PlayStation VR 2, and I think they knocked it out of the park. I love when they take a 2D, you know, game and they actually add VR elements on it. I don't think there's a problem with that at all. If that gets us to get more AAA games into VR, fantastic, especially when they're done as well as Resident Evil Village here was done. You know, who doesn't want to play, you know, the Resident Evil franchise in VR? It really makes it that much more scary. I mean, the game was already scary if you play it, you know, in surround sound by yourself at home, at least for me. And the fact of putting a VR headset on and really being a part of that world and being chased by things and just being, you know, in that game, man, it's definitely a hard game to get through if you're a horror game fan because of how scary it actually is. But they did a phenomenal job with this game. Resident Evil Village coming in at number 5. The next one on this list is another Resident Evil game, but this time it is Resident Evil 4, and man, they did another incredible job with this game for the exact same reasons that I just mentioned of you know, Village. The only reason this one is above because I just happen to like Resident Evil 4 more, and it's also, you know, from my childhood I used to play this game on the GameCube and stuff, so being in that world really makes me feel nostalgic, and seeing how good the game actually looks now as somebody who played the original on the GameCube and hasn't played the remake until it actually came out on VR, and this is completely remade, is just fantastic. They did a great job, and shout out to the Quest version of this game as well. Yes, it's not the remake version and it's definitely not as good, but they did, you know, bring Resident Evil 4 in on the Oculus Quest platform as well, exclusive on there originally, and did everything they could to make that game as good as it did, and that's also a phenomenal game. But on the VR 2, this is a complete remake with way better graphics on the PlayStation VR 2 system. And if you've never played Resident Evil 4, or if you've played it before and you want to see it in a whole new light, definitely urge you guys to do so. Resident Evil 4 VR mode coming in at number 4. The next one on this list here, coming in at number 3, is Vertigo 2. And man, the fact that this game was made by one guy is kind of insane. I mean, this game has everything you could want of a VR game. It literally rivals other games on the PC platform like Half-Life Alyx and stuff like that. And this game has so much variety in it, moment to moment. It starts off, obviously, it is a VR shooter, but the variety of things that you're actually doing, the locales that you actually visit and stuff like that, the way that you're going through, what you're seeing in the actual story, the physics of the game are just outstanding. And the fact that they added a free update to the game where now people can create their own levels and their own game modes and stuff like that is going to give this game infinite amount of replayability. Obviously, this is a sequel to the original, which I also urge you to play the remastered version of the original, because that's also a phenomenal game in VR that is just outstanding. I mean, what this guy can do in VR, what he brings us into VR is just outstanding, and I can't wait to see what he does next. This is one of the most unique games to come out in VR, and one of the best games to come out in VR overall, period. Man, this game is so good. Vertigo 2 coming in at number 3. The next game here coming in at number 2 is Gran Turismo 7. I mean, Gran Turismo is really a game that got me into the PlayStation VR 2, and it made me even buy a full-on wheel setup for PlayStation VR 2 and my PC, because it was really that much more immersive. And the fact that we have a game that has hundreds of hours of content and still gets updates to this day. They just added a snow level, so now you can actually race in the snow. You can see all the cars. You can go into each car and actually see it in VR and see all the detail inside the car, see it in photo mode and see all the details outside. I mean, all the different races that you can do in this game, all the different locales that you can play in. It really does feel like you're racing in this game. It's a full-on racing game in VR. I mean, how much more can we want from that? And it looks phenomenal, plays fantastic with the racing wheel, and it's my favorite, VR games of the year, especially combined with the racing wheel. It really feels like you're in a VR game, and there's so many hours worth of content in this game. It's a full Gran Turismo game in VR. Super happy that we have this game in VR. Gran Turismo 7 coming in at number 2. And the number 1 game of the year for me has got to be Asgards Wrath 2. I have about 15 plus hours right now into the game. The game is like 60 to 100 hours long. It is a full action RPG game in VR, built exclusively for the MetaQuest platform. Obviously, we were really worried about this game because obviously the original one came out on PC, and we were like, can they actually pull this off on just the Quest platform? And god damn it, they did. There's so much content in this game. There's so much variety in the game. Moment to moment, the action is fantastic. All the different mounts that you can collect, all the different weapons that you're playing through. The story is really fun to go through. The variety and the rifts that you get to play through in this game. They have some cool mixed reality stuff that you actually fight, some of the characters right here in your home. The grand scale of enemies that you fight and the bosses that you fight. This is a full-on VR game, more so than any other game I've ever played. This is literally built from the ground up. This is what you get when you get a AAA studio and you give them the time and budget to build a VR game. It rivals, some 2D flat-screen games out there that came out this year. That's how good this game is and has been for me so far. Asgards Wrath 2 coming in at number 1. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this list of my 20 favorite overall VR games across all platforms of the year. There has been so many good VR games, especially if you own multiple headsets like I do to play in VR. So little time, so many VR games. And as always, guys, if you guys have any questions, leave those questions down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.